The last bottle of soda water stood alone near the distribution point until two hands reached for it at the same time. Hansen managed to snatch it first, and when he turned to see who his rival was, surprise lit up his face. It was John. Smiling, Hansen greeted her, noting how long it had been since they last saw each other. But John wasn't in a nostalgic mood. She immediately recognized him as the guy who had tricked her on the ship and coldly asked why he was still hanging around the academy. Before Hansen could respond, Fang Lu walked up, misreading the situation. Assuming Hansen was bothering John, he stepped in and demanded an explanation. John quickly shut him down, telling him to mind his own business and to leave her alone. A heavy silence followed as the two young men locked eyes, their gazes filled with cold hostility. Hansen was amused. His recent opponent didn't even realize who had beaten him. With a glint of mischief, he proposed a game. They sat down at a gaming table, quickly drawing the attention of onlookers. Whispers spread, some bold newcomer was challenging the famous cadet Fang Lu. Hansen picked up a small ball and smirked. "Watch closely," he warned, spinning the cups with practiced ease. The audience leaned in, intrigued. Fang Lu scoffed at the simplicity of the challenge. He was confident, too confident. He believed it beneath him but saw it as a chance to humiliate his unknown rival. John, still watching, asked why Fang Lu was being so aggressive when Hansen hadn't even done anything wrong. Then she turned to Hansen, puzzled by his playful attitude. In response, Hansen grinned and casually told her that if he won, she'd have to go on a date with him. John was furious. "What kind of nonsense is that?" she snapped. The game reached its climax. Hansen stopped the spinning and told Fang Lu to choose. Calm and sure of himself, Fang Lu dismissed 2 cups, declaring the third to hold the ball. He flipped it with smug anticipation, but found it empty. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Everyone had seen the ball go under the center cup. And yet, Hansen opened his hand to reveal the ball. It had never been under any cup. With a mocking smile, he told Fang Lu that he should have paid better attention. The next morning, the sun rose over the rugged terrain surrounding the steel armor shelter, bathing everything in a golden glow. Hansen and his enthusiastic friend stood at the edge of a deep crevice. The friend had exciting news. He had discovered a massive nest of mutated creatures, completely unknown to others. His plan was simple: harvest their genes and sell the surplus. Hansen listened, but his mind was elsewhere, still caught up in last night's confrontation and John's harsh rejection. It stung more than he wanted to admit. As they looked into the crevice, they saw the nest. It was teeming with massive mutated ants. They began descending cautiously, knowing full well that one wrong move could alert the swarm. Hansen quickly assessed the danger. These creatures couldn't be taken down with bare hands. Their armored shells required arrows to pierce. He drew an arrow and took aim, only to pause. Another arrow had already flown ahead of his, striking an ant. Hansen spun around, trying to find the source. Moments later, the answer emerged. A group of armed strangers had appeared, ambushing the nest with precision and coordination. Their leader barked orders to switch to star alloy arrows, determined to wipe out the mutants and claim all the spoils. Positioned on a high ledge, they fired with deadly efficiency using wrist crossbows. Hansen's heart sank, not from fear, but from the thought of losing such a valuable find. But he stayed calm. Turning to his friend, he reassured him that the hunters hadn't seen them yet. Then, without another word, Hansen drew an explosive arrow. He knocked it to his bow, aimed silently, and whispered with quiet confidence, "They won't be so lucky today." The hunters, focused on their attack, had no idea what was coming. The arrow landed behind them, then exploded with a thunderous bang. The ledge trembled beneath their feet. Cracks split the rock, and with a final rumble, the entire platform gave way. Panic spread among the attackers as the stone beneath them crumbled and fell. Hidden in the dense bushes, a figure watched the chaos unfold with a satisfied smile. Hansen knew the hunters were about to pay dearly for attempting to steal what he considered his rightful prey. A massive slab of stone, the very ledge the hunters had been standing on, finally cracked away from the mountain side. With terrified screams, the intruders plummeted into the river far below. The mutated ants, now alerted to their presence, immediately descended on the fallen group with vengeance in their mandibles. Furious from the earlier assault, the insects attacked in a tightly organized column, pincers snapping and venom stingers striking with lethal precision. Though the hunters scrambled to escape, the ants were faster. The insects overran them, biting and stinging until screams turned into silence. From his hidden perch, Hansen watched everything with intense focus. He realized the moment for a decisive strike had come. Drawing his bow, He loosed an arrow that sliced through the air and pierced a massive ant cleanly. The arrow struck true, right through the shell. Hansen reeled the creature in with a taut line, examined it, and quickly deduced that the key to killing them instantly was to target the neck. His companion, elated by the successful hit, couldn't contain his admiration. Hansen had claimed the ant's soul with a single arrow. Both of them were in high spirits. Hansen hadn't expected his first attack to be so effective, nor the prey to be so rare. With renewed energy, Hansen unleashed a barrage of arrows, each one tipped with a line to pull back his kills. The two youths devoured the fallen ants, absorbing their genes, fully aware of the genetic value packed into each creature. Notifications from the system arrived one after another, mutated gene acquired. Hansen was ecstatic. He had already gathered 64 gene sequences, and the number was climbing fast. But their celebration was cut short by a low, resonant sound that made the earth seem to vibrate. They turned and saw it, a colossal ant emerging from the depths of the colony. This one was different. Hansen's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just another mutated insect. This was a divine blood-level creature, the leader of the colony. And suddenly, everything made sense. The ants hadn't just been attacking aimlessly. They had lured the hunters away, protecting their strongest. Quietly retreating into the shadow of a nearby rock ledge. Hansen grasped the rare opportunity before him. Such powerful mutants didn't appear often, and fate had delivered this one into his hands. The massive insect climbed onto a rocky outcrop, unaware that an arrow had already been loosed in its direction. It struck the beast's thick armor, harmlessly bouncing off. The attack had done no damage. Worse, it had alerted the creature. Hansen's heart raced. Not only was the ant impervious to normal arrows, it clearly possessed a level of intelligence far above its kin. The ant's head turned slowly toward them. Realizing the danger, Hansen quickly ordered his friend to hide. He would handle this one alone. His companion, worried but obedient, ran for cover, not before urging Hansen to be extremely careful. Launching himself from the ledge, Hansen soared into the air. As he flew, his body was enveloped in a powerful transformation. He donned the Empress's armor, a piece of rare and powerful gear. Immediately, he felt the difference. The armor, combined with his mastery of superparticle acceleration, boosted his speed and perception. The world seemed to move in slow motion. Slicing through the horde of regular ants, Hansen leapt high into the air once more. This time, his arrow was ready. It struck the ant leader square in the head, and this time, it worked. The creature's skull shattered, and the system confirmed the kill, soul of divine blood ant acquired. From the shadows, his friend emerged, a mix of awe and envy on his face. "You're blessed by the goddess of fortune," he said, half joking. Then, more seriously, "sell me that soul." But Hansen shook his head. He was still collecting divine blood souls and needed more supergod genes. His friend's expression shifted as he made a new offer. "I'll trade you something better, superbiological armor." That got Hansen's attention. He asked for more details. The friend explained, the armor was a cutting-edge military prototype, developed through the recombination of biological particles. Though it looked like a small suitcase in its base form, its potential was immense, equivalent to destructive-grade weapons. The only catch? It had no built-in weapons, and couldn't be used inside shelters. To prove its authenticity, the young man revealed a sleek metal case. Hansen, intrigued, carefully inspected it. The core systems functioned, and while incomplete, it was clearly a high-value item. Still, Hansen wasn't ready to part with the ant's soul. Instead, he offered two other rare souls, one from a powerful riding beast and another from a one-horned fox. The friend accepted the deal eagerly, pleased with the bargain. The two young men looked around at the battlefield littered with ant corpses. Despite consuming so many, their gene counts had stopped increasing. Yet the number of remaining ants was still massive. Their hunt was far from over, but what lay ahead now was no longer just survival or profit. It was power. Hansen stood among the remnants of battle, considering what to do with all the loot. Without hesitation, he threw the soul of a sandworm toward the remaining ants. His friend, stunned, immediately questioned the decision. "Why would you feed a valuable soul to these insects?" he asked, confused. Hansen shrugged. "I don't really know how to use a divine blood beast soul yet, or what it's for. But I'm hoping it'll strengthen the ant somehow. Maybe it'll be useful in future battles." Though uncertain, he acted on instinct, believing the investment might pay off. Still, part of him felt a pang of regret, not because of the soul, but because his new roommates weren't around to share in the spoils. He decided to surprise them later with some mutated and jerky as a gift. Nearby, his friend sat sulking, silently crying out of frustration. He still hadn't acquired a divine blood soul himself, and eating ordinary mutants only reminded him of the gap between them. The following day, Hansen made his way deep into the forest to examine his newest acquisition, the armor he had traded for. As he activated the system's scan, it responded immediately, "Scan complete. Silver Death Machine activated." What happened next was something straight out of a science fiction dream. The contents of the small suitcase, metallic particles in a liquid-like state, suddenly began to move. They flowed outward and swirled toward Hansen, quickly enveloping his entire body. Within seconds, they formed a sleek, high-tech layer of armor that clung to him like a second skin. Power surged through him. He dashed forward and stopped abruptly, realizing he'd covered an incredible distance in the blink of an eye. The acceleration was far greater than he'd expected. "This is just a prototype," he thought, amazed. "I definitely got the better end of that trade." Elsewhere, preparations were underway for an upcoming academic competition. A well-known reporter chatted with his cameraman, gathering updates on the current standings. "The Black Hawk team is still at the top, as usual," the cameraman said. "Anyone else making waves?" the reporter asked. "Well, the God's Hand group has been improving fast." The reporter leaned in, curious. "What about that unknown player who beat Fanglu at the last minute?" The cameraman dismissed it. "He's from the rifle squad. Doesn't matter. Those guys aren't a real threat in serious competitions." The reporter chuckled and suggested a food break. "Let's go to the Black Hawk mess hall, grab something to eat, and maybe pick up some info on the cadets." They arrived late in the evening. As they entered, they spotted someone eating alone. It was Hansen. They approached and asked why he was eating so late. Hansen looked up, confused. "Are you teachers or something?" he asked bluntly. The reporter blinked in disbelief. Millions had seen his broadcasts. Countless more had read his articles. And yet, this student didn't recognize him. He sat down, trying to play it cool. "What competition are you preparing for?" Hansen replied casually, "Just finished my general physical training." In truth, he had just been testing the new armor and wasn't about to share that detail. The reporter praised his discipline. "Which event are you entering?" "I'm an archer. Part of the heavy armor club," Hansen answered. The reporter raised an eyebrow. "You signed up for every competition involving mechas or exosuits?" "Yeah," Hansen said, unfazed. "I plan to compete in all of them. And win." The cameraman chuckled, clearly skeptical. "You should start with something easier. Like archery." Hansen stood and gave a calm smile. "Archery's boring. I've already beaten the best player, by 20 points. I like new challenges." With that, he walked off. The reporter, though expressionless, had just made the connection. This was the mysterious player who'd beaten Fanglu. He studied Hansen's retreating figure carefully. "This kid's not as simple as he looks," he murmured. His cameraman noticed. "What are you staring at?" The reporter smiled. "I think we've just found our headline." The next day, Hansen encountered John. He greeted her warmly, noting it had been a while. But John didn't respond. She walked past him without a word, frowning. "Just my luck," she thought. Bitterly. Of all the people I could run into, it had to be him again. As John tried to walk away, Hansen grabbed her by the hand, stopping her in her tracks. "You being really rude," he said calmly. "Last time you slapped me and didn't even apologize." John turned to him, her eyes flashing with irritation. "And you didn't even ask if I wanted to go on that date. That's why I was angry. So you're upset because I called you my girlfriend?" Hansen asked, half smiling. "Stop talking about that," she snapped. "Say another word, and I'll hit you again." But Hansen, unfazed, made her a bold offer. "If I win the championship, will you agree to go on a date with me?" John paused, clearly caught off guard. Winning the championship was no easy feat. Her expression turned unreadable, mysterious. "Fine," she said at last. "Take first place in 5 events. If you manage that, I'll consider it." But Hansen wasn't about to be tricked again. "You already lied to me once," he reminded her. "I'm not falling for it this time." Without hesitation, John extended her phone toward him. "Then let's make a contract. I'll back it with my account." Hansen smiled and accepted. Now the deal was sealed, and this time, he was sure she'd hold up her end of the bargain. The day of the Inter-Academy Championship finally arrived. In a broadcast room, the cameraman looked at the host with confusion. "Why are you so fixated on that guy we saw in the cafeteria?" The host leaned back in his chair. "Just a gut feeling. He's special. This will make for an incredible story and massive ratings." Moments later, the live broadcast began, streaming across countless screens, including massive displays across Academy grounds. The host welcomed viewers from all over the sector. "This year, something unprecedented is happening at the Black Hawk Military Academy," he said. "A student is participating in every armor-based competition except one, due to certain restrictions. And he's dominating the stats." His words caused an uproar. Students all across campus buzzed with speculation. "Who is this guy?" "From the Heavy Armor Club." "There's no one that's strong in their lineup." "Is there?" One person who wasn't impressed was Fang Lu. Scowling at the screen, he dismissed the reporter's claims as nonsense. But the girl next to him ignored his complaints. "Focus. The match is about to start." The screen shifted to show massive combat robots lining up for the first event. The reporter's voice boomed over the arena. "Welcome to the first match of the Armor Division. And pay attention, among the competitors is a machine called Destroyer. Though outdated, this model once cost hundreds of millions and still boasts impressive specs." Fang Lu raised an eyebrow. "That machine's powerful, but I think the real story is its pilot." Then came the starting signal. Engines roared to life and the massive machines lurched forward. But just seconds into the race, the Destroyer stumbled and crashed onto the ground with a deafening roar. Gasps echoed throughout the arena. The host's voice returned. "An unfortunate accident. Looks like the pilot lost control, perhaps too much excitement." The rest of the robot sped ahead while cadets burst into laughter. Sympathy mixed with ridicule. Fang Lu sneered. "This was supposed to be the best? What a joke." Even John shook her head in disgust. "What a disgrace. And in front of such a huge audience." Inside the fallen Destroyer, Hansen realized the truth. Controlling a high-level mech like this required far more training. But instead of giving up, he made a bold decision. He triggered his nano-armor, abandoning the cockpit. His body transformed as the sleek silver death machine suit deployed, wrapping around him in seconds. With a powerful burst, Hansen sprinted forward, closing the gap with incredible speed. His helmet's virtual display lit up as his teammates contacted him. "Don't worry, we've got your back," they reassured him. Now, Hansen surged ahead. Despite the overwhelming weight and momentum of the other machines, the Silver Death machine number 69 tore through the track like lightning. The host's voice returned. "We're down to the final lap. Leading the race is, unbelievably, the Silver Death machine, number 69. The crowd erupted. Students whispered in shock. "Where did that machine come from? That's a military prototype. I've never seen it sold anywhere." At the finish line, Hansen burst through the tape, arms raised in victory. The announcer's voice thundered across the arena, and first place goes to the Silver Death machine, number 69. Cheers echoed as Hansen stood tall, basking in the spotlight. He raised his hands, smiling broadly. "Thanks for the support, everyone," he shouted. "And don't go anywhere, I'll be competing in several more events." The identity of the pilot behind the Silver Death machine is finally revealed. It's Hansen. The news spreads rapidly among the cadets, triggering a wave of shock and excitement. But for John, it's a moment of dread. Panic flickers across her face. She had made a promise, one she now regrets. All she can do is hope that Hansen fails to win the remaining competitions. Meanwhile, the reporter keeps the hype alive, his voice booming through the screens across campus. "This contestant isn't just talk, he's the real deal," he says, stoking the flames of public curiosity. At this rate, he might just be the next champion. Members of the Heavy Armor Club swarm around Hansen, congratulating him on his stunning victory. They are proud, excited, and aware they've just witnessed the birth of a serious contender. Hansen meets their praise with cool confidence. "I will become the champion," he declares. "Racing is my specialty, and I'm just getting started." Around the campus, cadets are buzzing. Some are amazed by Hansen's performance, others remain skeptical, placing bets on different competitors. Their chatter is abruptly cut off by the instructor, who orders them to focus. Though outwardly composed, the instructor doesn't truly believe Hansen will win it all. Still, he admits that Hansen's presence is pushing others to give their best, and that, at least, is a good thing. The reporter announces the next event, the obstacle race. Tension fills the arena. The Heavy Armor Club is ready at the starting line. John, watching nervously, can't hide her anxiety. Hansen's dominance has her on edge. She silently hopes someone will finally manage to stop him. The second competition begins. As soon as the signal sounds, the Silver Death Machine rockets forward, taking the lead instantly. It blazes through the course without slowing, ignoring the obstacles entirely. The crowd is stunned. They watch in awe as Hansen's mech smashes through barriers rather than maneuvering around them. Watching from the sidelines, Fang Lu sneers. A malicious grin forms on his face. He's going to regret that. No amount of speed cancels out physics. But Hansen isn't stopping. With blistering momentum, he crashes through a meter-thick concrete wall, obliterating it. The audience gasps. How is that possible? Did he just? That wall was solid. Whispers of disbelief echo across the arena. The sheer power of Hansen's armor leaves everyone stunned. Fang Lu, now fuming, mutters, "That guy's crazy. He's going to kill himself at this rate." Near him, one of John's friends notices the color draining from her face. "Are you okay?" they ask in concern. But John says nothing. Her eyes are locked on the screen. Hansen continues to charge forward, pulverizing every obstacle in his path. One by one, concrete blocks crumble under his assault. Nothing slows him. Finally, he blasts through the last barrier and crosses the finish line. The host's voice rings out, "We have a winner!" With unmatched speed and raw strength, the Silver Death Machine secures first place once again. The cadets erupt into discussion. Many are in disbelief. Others are simply amazed. Fang Lu can't process what he's seeing. "That shouldn't even be possible," he mutters. "How?" John, on the other hand, is seething. "This is humiliating," she spits. "Veteran players, losing to him? It's a disgrace." Fueled by anger, she spins on her club members and screams, "Get in the arena. Win. Or don't bother coming back to the club." Elsewhere, Hansen's fellow clubmates cheer wildly. They're awestruck. "Your armor is insane," one of them says. "It's like magic. The crowd can't get enough of it." But Hansen isn't satisfied yet. "This is just win number 2, he says. "I've got more to go. I'll prove I deserve to be called the best." In another part of the arena, the instructor sits silently, clearly irritated. He doesn't like the way things are going. Combat matches used to take place through projections, but now, they're happening in real time. It worries him. He voices his concern to one of the officials. "The rules are changing. This isn't war, it's a competition. Who's responsible if someone gets hurt?" The official calmly responds, "The rules were changed to protect the players. Besides, our company sponsors your club. You wouldn't want to jeopardize that relationship, would you?" The instructor falls silent, clearly displeased but unwilling to press further. Then, the host's voice echoes again through the arena. "Attention, everyone! For the upcoming competition, the rules will be officially changed." A new phase is about to begin, and no one knows what to expect next. The host makes a thrilling announcement. From now on, the competitors will fight in real armor, not simulations. The audience erupts in excitement, craving the danger and spectacle that only live combat can offer. The shift in format electrifies the arena, and the reporter doesn't hold back. "This won't be just a race, this will be a massacre," he predicts. With the new survival-based rules, only one contender will be crowned victor, and everyone knows who they're aiming for, Hansen and his Silver Death Machine. Backstage, Hansen's friends excitedly inform him that he's become the talk of the academy. More importantly, his stellar performances have caught the attention of a major military company, one deeply interested in his skills and the power of his unique armor. Flattered, Hansen responds with calm confidence. "If they think this machine is impressive now, just wait. No one's ready for what it can really do." But Ian, always strategic, isn't blinded by success. He quickly gathers the Heavy Armor Club and presents a plan. "We need to protect Hansen," he says seriously. "We're no longer racing, we're surviving. If we can disrupt the enemy formation, force them to interfere with each other, Hansen can break through." The others nod in agreement. They know what's at stake. "I'll lead the right flank," Ian adds. "Hansen will punch through the center, but he can't do it alone. We'll clear the way." The girls in the club step forward without hesitation. "We'll suppress enemy fire," one says. "Just make sure Hansen gets through." Moved by their loyalty, Hansen nods. Thank you all. This will be a real battle, and we'll win it. No matter what. The battlefield soon fills with massive armored machines, each one rumbling with energy. The teams assemble. From his cockpit, Ian adjusts the manipulators of his war unit. His eyes narrow as he surveys the enemy force. They've all teamed up against us, he mutters. Figures. The signal blares across the arena. The final battle begins. The ground shakes as the Titanic mechs rush forward. The girls from the Heavy Armor Club open fire, unleashing a storm of suppressive fire to keep the enemy at bay. Their priority is clear: protect Hansen at all costs. Within the Silver Death Machine, Hansen darts between enemy mechs, moving with breathtaking speed and precision. His armor glints under the stadium lights as he weaves through enemy fire like a ghost. Behind him, his team continues the offensive. The girls spread out, laying down continuous fire to blast a path open. Ian, coordinating from the rear line, radios in urgently. They're flanking from the right. Too many targets. Even under pressure, Ian keeps his voice steady. Stick to the plan. Hansen, center lane. I'll hold the flank. Hansen activates the Empress Armor's advanced systems. The battlefield slows around him, his perception heightened. To him, the enemy moves in slow motion. With absolute clarity, he drives forward. Suddenly, Tingan and his partner charge the front line, shielding Hansen and absorbing a storm of enemy fire. Their courage is unmistakable. Hansen locks onto multiple targets. Energy weapons deploy from the arms of his mech. His expression hardens. With lethal precision, he opens fire, dropping opponents who dare block his path. The crowd watches in stunned silence, then erupts. The host's voice booms out again. The Heavy Armor Club has taken the offensive. A bold move, and it's working. The reporter nods, eyes locked on the screen. Hansen? This isn't the rookie we saw in the first round. This is a born tactician. In the control room, the competition organizer slams his fist into the table. Why aren't they losing? How is a ragtag club overwhelming my entire formation? His fury echoes through the chamber. Shouts and curses fly from his staff as everything spirals out of control. Back in the arena, Hansen continues his unrelenting march. Voices echo in his comms, enemy pilots yelling, trying to coordinate an ambush. Hansen doesn't stop. He surges forward, barreling straight into enemy lines. Confused by his audacity, the enemy forces panic. Their crossfire becomes disorganized. In the chaos, they begin to hit each other. Cease fire! You're hitting friendlies. But it's too late. A massive explosion erupts, blinding light and thunderous sound engulfing the battlefield. The audience gasps. Out of the smoke and debris, the Silver Death Machine emerges, unscathed, unstoppable. Hansen continues his advance without a word, leaving behind ruins, wreckage, and the furious cries of defeated opponents blaming each other for the humiliating loss. And in that moment, there's no doubt, Hansen isn't just surviving, he's dominating. The reporter, eyes gleaming with excitement, speaks directly to the roaring crowd. That was spectacle incarnate. The Heavy Armor Club didn't just survive, they dominated the battlefield. He highlights how Hansen masterfully utilized the full potential of the Empress armor, maneuvering with a calmness that borders on eerie. With surgical precision, Hansen struck from blind spots, turned enemy weapons against their owners, and fought like he was executing a pre-written strategy. The reporter chuckles, "You won't learn that in a classroom." Realizing their current tactics are failing, the enemy forces hastily regroup and agree on a new plan to eliminate Hansen's teammates first. Without the support of the Heavy Armor Club, they assume Hansen won't be able to last. But their strategy collapses in seconds. Hansen charges into their formation like a whirlwind, his energy blade slicing through metal with terrifying speed and force. His assault is a blur, devastating and unstoppable. The host's voice rises, nearly shouting, "The Silver Death Machine is untouchable. They can't even slow him down." The camera zooms in on the carnage Hansen leaves in his wake. The host, nearly breathless, adds, "This isn't just top-tier piloting. That armor, it's at the level of a senior officer's equipment." Meanwhile, in the control room, the tournament organizer explodes in rage. He hurls a mug across the room, shattering it against the wall. "Cut them off. No sponsorships for any of them." Grinding his teeth, he orders his staff to uncover everything, who built that machine, who authorized its use, and how a student managed to get their hands on it. Back in the arena, the audience rises to their feet. Deafening applause fills the stadium as Hansen is declared the victor once again. The host, still high on adrenaline, addresses the crowd. Remember this moment. Remember the silver death machine. And remember Hansen, no longer a rookie, but a legend of this tournament. Cadets swarm Hansen, unable to contain their joy. They cheer and call him the pride of Room 304 and the entire Heavy Armor Club. But not everyone is celebrating. Amidst the jubilation, one girl notices John, standing off to the side, her expression blank and distant. Concerned, she approaches her quietly. "John, what's wrong? You look like you're somewhere else." Before John can answer, a group of cadets passes by, enthusiastically discussing Hansen's performance and how they want to buy armor just like his. When they begin praising the pilot, something inside John snaps. She slams her fist into a nearby wall. Her friend flinches and immediately asks, "Who said something to you? Who upset you?" But instead of answering, John's demeanor suddenly flips. A wide, unsettling smile spreads across her face. "Oh, it's nothing. Really, I'm fine. Let's go eat, my treat." Her friend stares at her in disbelief. "John, you re-scaring me. What is wrong with you?" The next day, far from the chaos of the arena, a military research facility reviews the match footage. Scientists and officers watch with rapt attention. One of them comments, "Unbelievable. That was just a test unit. And a first-year cadet won 5 matches with it." Another man nearby nods, still stunned. "If even beginners can pilot it like that, we're looking at something revolutionary." A representative from the development team speaks up. He's no ordinary cadet. Hansen is part of Schuen's special security team. He was given that armor to test it and promote it. As night falls, John sneaks through the shadows in a long coat and large cap, trying not to be recognized. She recalls a message Hansen sent earlier: "If I win 5 competitions, you owe me. Don't forget our promise. Meet me by the dining hall in trance." John clenches her teeth. She hates crowded places, and she knows Hansen chose this spot on purpose. He wants people to see them together. When she arrives, she finds Hansen already there, surprised to see her. "Early? Wow. Didn't think you were that eager," he says with a teasing grin. He eyes her outfit and raises an eyebrow. "What's with the get-up? Afraid of getting swarmed by fans?" John, clearly irritated, slaps a hand over his mouth and snaps, "Shut up." John, trying to break the tension, asks Hansen if he has an account on the school forum. Hansen smiles and nods. "Of course. It's under the name My Girl John." Hearing this, John thinks to herself how obvious it was and wonders why she never realized it sooner. She feels a bit flustered and confused. With a teasing smirk, Hansen reminds her, "Well, now it's time to keep your promise." John's heart sinks as she understands what that means. She has to kiss him. Reluctantly, she slowly reaches out, mentally promising herself that as soon as she gets home, she'll wash her mouth with soap and buy a pack of gum. She braces herself, telling herself she can't let his scent stick to her. Suddenly, Hansen surprises her by pulling her into a firm hug and kissing her decisively on the lips. Right at that moment, a group of girls appears nearby. Spotting them, they whisper loudly, surprised and judgmental, "Why choose such a public place for your little show?" Hansen grins and points to one of the girls. "That's my friend. Want to say hi?" The girls, chatting among themselves, walk away, complaining that it's time to hold a student council meeting about this kind of behavior. John feels mortified. She quickly turns away and mutters a curse under her breath aimed at Hansen. Hansen heads toward his room, reflecting on John's shyness. He decides he needs to spend more time with her to understand her better and strengthen their relationship. At his doorway, Hansen is greeted by an unusual sight, his pet, a 3-eyed cat. The system announces that the cat has mutated and evolved to a divine level. Hansen is shocked. He never expected this seemingly useless creature to transform into such a rare and powerful being. Gently petting the now larger cat, Hansen concludes it must have evolved thanks to its diet, mostly ants it had collected. Activating a holographic system screen, he learns the cat has developed a formidable fighting body. Hansen is impressed, thinking it's better to develop his pet than to go searching for new ones. He remembers his sandworm pet and hopes it will evolve as well. Clad in his money brother armor, Hansen rides atop the three-eyed cat across a desert plain. He decides to test his pet's usefulness in hunting. Spotting a huge mutated centipede nearby, Hansen commands the cat to attack. The cat swiftly catches up and bites the centipede with its massive jaws. The system congratulates Hansen on a successful hunt and reports the soul of a primitive sand snake has been obtained. Hansen happily hugs his pet, calling it his irreplaceable assistant and hoping its power will only grow. Looking around, Hansen notices the area is eerily empty. Previously, it had been teeming with worms and desert foxes. Walking forward, he finds dead sandworms scattered about. Puzzled, he wonders who could have done this. Deciding not to risk exposing his pet, Hansen calls the three-eyed cat back and prepares to investigate alone. Following a trail of blood, he soon hears the distant calls of sand foxes. After a while, he encounters a large hunting party led by the Divine Sun. The hunters cheer loudly, celebrating a successful hunt and feeling lucky today. Hansen immediately spots a strange, massive stranger among them, a warrior of divine level, new to the Divine Sun squad. The Divine Sun praises this huge warrior, reaffirming his value. The squad corners a small group of sand foxes, including their leader, in a dead end, believing their prey trapped and doomed. A cruel smile spreads across Chinsuan's face as he orders his men to hold back. He wants to enjoy the hunt himself. Hansen suspects the fox leader is very cunning and wonders if the animal will manage to escape. Indeed, the fox surprises everyone by finding a small crack in the rock and slipping through it. Chinsuan is furious upon realizing the beasts had an escape plan. He commands his men not to harm the fox leader, promising to catch it himself. Feeling a spark of excitement, Hansen senses the fox won't give up easily. Suddenly, the huge warrior feels an odd vibration without understanding its source. The Divine Sun urgently orders his squad to retreat to nearby shelter as a strange golden sand approaches from all sides. Hansen immediately recognizes the danger: golden ants, vicious creatures that devour everything in their path. The Divine Sun attempts to flee but is horrified to see one of his hunters consumed instantly by the ants. The huge warrior bravely swings his club, charging forward. "These ants are fragile. Don't be afraid, follow me." A satisfied smile crosses Chinsuan's face as he thinks again how lucky he was to recruit this mighty warrior. Hansen admires the hunter's strength, comparing him to a steel machine. Chinsuan thanks the warrior for saving the squad and claims without him, they would have surely died. The warrior modestly replies it was nothing. At that moment, the other hunters suddenly turn on the huge warrior, stabbing him in the back with knives at the Divine Sun signal. The hunters twist the wounded giant's body cruelly, mocking him by saying he was only lucky because of his divine-level club. Hansen's thoughts turn harsh. He considers the Divine Sun and his hunters worthless scoundrels and worries deeply that such a strong man trusted them. Chinsuan, the Divine Sun, coldly demands the giant hand over his club, promising that if he complies, he might be spared. The giant roars defiantly, shouting that he would never surrender his weapon, even if it means death. The hunters restrain the giant tightly while Chinsuan slaps him across the face, declaring, "You asked for this." Then, with cruel satisfaction, the Divine Sun's men drop the giant roughly to the ground and gleefully announce his doom. Watching this, Hansen realizes he must act quickly to help the stranger before these scoundrels torture him to death. Suddenly, the Divine Sun hears a strange noise and turns to see a beast of divine blood nearby. Alarmed, he orders two hunters to stay behind with the wounded giant while he and the rest of the squad chase after the monster. The hunters obey without question but mock the captive giant, taunting him about his earlier boasts of strength. They even offer him the divine club again, hoping to tempt him. Just then, Hansen appears. He confronts the hunters, condemning their cruelty. Swiftly, he strikes down one hunter with his sword. The fallen man drops dead, and his partner scrambles away in fear, seeking refuge behind nearby rocks. With great effort, Hansen helps the wounded giant to his feet, urging him to hold on. From above, the Divine Sun spots Hansen, referred to as a money brother, and curses him for meddling in their affairs, then orders his men to return. Behind them, the voices of the money brother hunters warn that the fugitives won't get far since the giant is injured and slow. Hansen dismisses their threat, calling them foolish. Summoning his massive three-eyed cat, Hansen carefully places the wounded giant on the creature's back and commands it to carry him to safety. One hunter, shocked, remarks that Hansen has tamed the beast of divine blood. Chinsuan angrily silences him, insisting it's just a pet. Hansen mockingly bids the hunter farewell as Chinsuan shouts curses, vowing he'll catch Hansen someday. At a safe distance, the wounded giant asks Hansen why he saved him, suspicious that Hansen might want the divine club. Hansen denies any such intentions, saying he simply likes helping others. He offers to escort the giant home after he pays what he can. The giant agrees, declaring that the enemy of his enemy is a friend. Though he refuses to give up the divine club, the giant offers Hansen 2 mutated animal souls, one as payment for his rescue, the other as a token for safe escort. Hansen accepts the deal, satisfied that it's more than enough.